Honestly guys, the worst thing you could do on a gacha game that would make it unplayable is absolutely bricking your account. Now how do you exactly do this? Well, my name is wtfmikxy and that is exactly what we'll be going over today, as we will be talking about big mistakes you can make on Zenless Zone Zero that will make the game less enjoyable and much more harder. So with that out of the way, let's dive into the first one. Now a big one that is very important when it comes to these gacha games, especially when it comes to Zenless Zone Zero in specific, is saving your materials. This really becomes important when you are also going for new characters. Let's take using all your level up XP materials for example. When you are building your account on Zenless Zone Zero, yes, it may be nice to be able to farm for standard banner pulls by leveling up every single character that you currently obtained. Also, it may be good to do that so you can obtain your 300 pull free standard banner character as soon as possible. However, let's talk about what you'll be able to do on future limited banner characters coming out, or even your current limited banner characters. Without efficient XP materials, you won't be able to fully max out W engines or agents you have currently on your roster that you would like to build. So what I suggest you do is making a game plan. In the in-game content game modes, you need to have a total of 6 playable characters to clear Shiyu Defense and Hollow Zero. And I would also like to remind you guys that having these teams will set you up for success when trying to obtain the most polychrome possible. So that's why it's actually good to build good teams and good characters for the end-game game modes. Now we are still pretty much in the early stages of the game still, so there is still a small percentage of you guys who are out there saving up your polychrome for agents like Miyabe and other official sources of characters that are coming out in the near future. So when building your teams, what you can do is obviously build your free 5-star limited agent, the one that you obtain in the early stages of the game, and depending on who you are, if you pulled on any of the recent limited banner agents like Xingyi, Zhiyuan, and Ellen, you can build specific characters around those agents. This also works if you are coming into Zenless Zone Zero in a later point of the game. Long story in short fashion, if you waste all of your level up XP materials, you won't have any to fully max out the characters you need to clear the endgame contests within Zenless Zone Zero. Also, a big thing to note when you are leveling up characters is to be very patient. Do not, and I mean do not, force level. And what I mean by this is do not use your prototype seal to force agents levels in this game. It is not worth it when you can use these materials to max out agents later on in the end game. Or if you really wanted to, like I said before, if you're saving up for a future character, you can save up for those characters as well. Also, a big issue in Zenless Zone Zero is actually the lack of materials to upgrade your characters towards the max level of 60. There has been some talk from other gamers who have played Hoyo versus other famous titles like Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact that Zenless Zone Zero is not as forgiving when it comes to materials and actually maxing out your agents to the max rank of level 60. Which brings me into my next mistake. Understanding what your goals are and which characters and teams you are trying to build is very important as well. I am still trying to currently get used to this, as there is a bunch of different character types and elements in the game, when of course building your teams and deciding which characters to pull for on the banners. Now before I even continue, I'm strictly talking about those gamers out there who play in the hardcore style of gacha games. I am aware of the waifu over meta. I actually personally play most gacha games like that. Like an example for me is on Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact, and even Wuthering Waves included, I mainly pull for characters I want to pull for rather than just playing meta. Although I do make lots of content surrounding guides and stuff, I mostly pull for characters I want, and hopefully I can make a good team composition out of those characters. So this mistake is mainly for those players who actually want to focus on not wasting pulls, and of course strategically making a plan to make sure they get the best out of their team compositions and character pulls. Going back on topic here, saving your pulls is very important. Understanding what type of teams you are trying to build is very good as well. For example, if you were in a similar boat like me and did not have a good proper stun character like me before Xingyi came out, which means I basically only had Ambi as a stun agent, so what I did was gamble my pulls on Xingyi to finish a really well-rounded team composition, if I say so myself. This composition was Zhiyuan, Xingyi, and Nicole, and I actually really do think this is a great team comp. I actually have a lot of fun playing with these characters together, which means with me saving the pulls for Xingyi and being able to obtain her, now I can focus on pulling characters for my second team, which in the long run will help me with the in-game content game modes like Shiyu Defense that requires you to have 2 good teams. So now with the pull on Xingyi, I can now move my semi-built Ambi to team 2 and start working on my second team pulls since my first team is complete. Now with that example out of the way, we can talk about something that most of the gacha community does, and you know who you are when I say this. So we got gamers out there who make the excuse called, I am just building pity. Well man, I really hate to break it to you, but you just got the gacha gambling addiction fever, quite literally. And you can't even argue with me that this isn't a gambling addiction, that when you get enough for a singular pull that you aren't tempted to just hit the button and see if you can get something cool like a S rank or a 5-star character. If you are someone in any gacha game that uses the excuse of building pity, then you know who you you are and you do this every single time, listen, it's all good. You are probably not alone. But what I suggest is using your standard banner pulls whenever you get them. Number one, they are free and easy to obtain. And number two, it gets the itch of wanting to summon out of the way, so that way you can calm your gambling addiction down. And listen, man, just because you don't go to a casino or buy scratch tickets, if you are spending money to gamble on waifu characters, then you are a gambling addict. Or if you're free to play and you always have that itch of wanting to summon, then yeah, you're kind of a gambling addict in a way too. But as gacha gamers, aren't we all in some type of way? I mean, let's get off topic real quick, because in reality, we can get by with any type of characters in the game if you're good enough, especially in Zenless Zone Zero where it's combat oriented. But they release more and more drip marketing and official releases on new characters coming out, and they just trap us with the same thing over and over again. I'm not coping or anything. Which, by the way, in my recent video, I went over a bunch of ways you can obtain free polycones from things you can do every day, all the way to things you can do if you want to grind Zenless Zone Zero and get more summons. Also, in this guide, I went over ways you could obtain free standard banner summons to get rid of that itch of wanting to pull and get rid of those gambling tendencies. So make sure you check out that video. That video link will be in the description down below. Now, getting back on topic here, the only excuse I feel like you should have when it comes to summoning for pity is going for A-ranked agents to complete getting duplicates of characters, or rather getting mindscapes. I think early game, with how there is a little amount of characters currently, it might not be wise to actually try to go for A-ranked agents on banners unless if the A-ranked agent is actually new. For example, coming in the second half of update 1.1, we will be getting the new limited banner anomaly physical agent Jane Doe, which I'm sure all of you guys know by now because she quite literally is one of the most famous characters in Zenless Zone Zero. And if you play the game, then you probably already know who she is. Anyways, also, coming out on her banner is a new A-ranked agent Seth, who is going to be a new character coming out in 1.1, because you could get a 2-for-1 special when it comes to pulling the agents. You got a chance to pull the S-ranked agent Jane Doe if it all goes well and you do not lose your 50-50. And even if you do end up losing, at least you pulled on this banner and most likely got the new A-ranked agents, leading to more flexibility when it comes to team compositions in the future. And you might also get lucky and get some duplicates of him as well. Then you could worry about saving up for the new agent that comes out in the near future for your guaranteed pull if you lose that 50-50. But at the end of the day, this is your account. Play the game how you want to play it. That's important. If you're not having fun, then what's the point of a gacha game? You know what I mean? I'm just a content creator yapping about ways you can make the most out of your summons in a strategic way. So you can take my advice if you want, but like I just said, it's best if you play the game how you want to play it. Now, I'm going to be moving on to my next mistake, which is not focusing on the limited time events and my dailies, which actually caused me a free 10 summons or 1600 polychrome in the early game of Zenless Zone Zero. Because right when the game launched, when you reached Internet level 35, you were able to obtain 10 free summons, which I did not know this was a limited event, and missing out on this actually kind of annoyed me because I am free to play on Zenless Zone Zero. And I really could have used those summons when it came to pulling Ching-Yi, and you know, I kind of want Jane Doe as well, so I'm kind of behind. So make sure you complete those events that are limited time only is very important, especially if you are not a whale and going to be free to play or minimally spending. You must get to these limited time events for free polychrome and rewards. And I know, guys, some of you are gacha game addicts just like myself, and I play a lot of gacha games, and I mean a lot of gacha games. I am a seasoned veteran. Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, Zenless Zone Zero. Nah, I'm just playing. I really need to play more though. No, I actually don't. I should probably go touch some grass. I know there's a lot of you out there who have a track history of playing gacha games, and way more than me at that. And getting back on track here, it is also very important you do your dailies and weeklies, because doing this will land you free XP materials as well as gacha currency. And make sure you're consistently hitting the coffee shop daily and using all that energy. But do not, and I mean do not, use ether battery. I would only recommend using your ether battery to force getting energy when you are building up different agents. That is the only time I personally do it, and I'm not sure if anyone else does it that way, but when I am farming discs to max out builds on my main carries, that is what I do. I force the ether battery to get energy. If you did not know, energy does regen over time. Typically it takes a full day rotation to reach back at max energy, which is kind of common knowledge, but just in case some of you didn't know, it is very important to remember that gacha games are not a race. If you want to think that, well, I got news for you. About 99% of you, because there is that possible 1 percentile of players that will do what what I'm going to say, about 99% of you guys will not be able to beat someone who is going to will on a limited banner and max out their entire agents with duplicates or mindscapes. It just is what it is. There's really no point in racing, so just take your time or you will suffer consequences and, you know, break your account. It is very important to enjoy the RNG aspects to the gacha game and do your best to cope with loss or a win. Well, that's all for today, guys. If you guys did enjoy the video, please leave a like, a comment, subscribe so you can find your way back to my channel, and also join the community Discord and pinned in the comment section down below. That's it for now. Peace.